shortest conflict in recorded history, the Anglo-Zanzibar conflict, is the subject of our investigation today. It lasted for 38 minutes and happened on August 27, 1896. Don't be fooled by its briefness, though. This battle tells us a lot about the politics and power conflicts of the day. We'll look at the causes of the conflict, the course of events, and the aftermath in this video. This is about comprehending the broader context of imperialism and its effects on the world, not just a strange historical fact. Let's begin. We must look back to the late 19th century in order to comprehend the Anglo-Zanzibar War. The East African island of Zanzibar was a thriving center for trade, especially in slaves and spices. It was influenced by the Omani Sultanate for centuries. However, Zanzibar became a British protectorate in 1890, which meant that a native sultan oversaw internal issues while the British controlled its foreign affairs. There was conflict, since Zanzibar's economy was largely dependent on the slave trade, which the British sought to outlaw. Sultan Khalid bin Bargash took over after British ally Sultan Hamad bin Thuwaini passed away suddenly on August 25, 1896. Khalid was disliked by the British, who saw him as a possible challenger to their authority. Sultan Hamud bin Mohammed was their favored candidate, since he was more cooperative. Khalid, however, resisted British pressure to resign and positioned a small force to defend himself in the palace. Tension quickly increased, laying the groundwork for a battle that would be notorious for its short duration. Sultan Khalid was given a warning by the British on the morning of August 27, 1896, to vacate the palace by 9 a.m. or risk military action. Khalid declined, thinking he could hold back. The British forces started fire at 9:02 a.m. 3 warships, HMS St. George, HMS Raccoon, and HMS Thrush, were positioned in the harbor of Zanzibar. The Sultan's strongly defended palace was their aim. The British bombardment was destructive and fast. The palace was in ruins in a matter of minutes. Almost instantly, Sultan Khalid's tiny navy, which included just one wooden ship, was destroyed. In the meantime, British gunfire was too strong for his 2,800 defenders, who were poorly trained and equipped with antiquated firearms. The Sultan's army soon started to disperse. While some gave up, others ran into the streets. The war ended 38 minutes after the first shot was fired, at 9:40 a.m. Sultan Khalid's aspirations and the war were destroyed when he fled the palace and sought refuge in the German consulate. In the meantime, the British proclaimed victory and crowned Sultan Hamud bin Mohammed as Zanzibar's new monarch. This made it possible for their policies, such as outlawing the slave trade, to continue. The war's human cost was glaring. More than 500 Zanzibari people died, while only one British person was hurt. In addition to being the shortest conflict in history, the Anglo-Zanzibar War was also one of the most lopsided, despite lasting less than an hour. The effects of the Anglo-Zanzibar War persisted for years. It served as a reaffirmation of British dominance over Zanzibar and a blatant display of naval power. Hamud bin Mohammed, the new sultan, was far more obliging, supporting British interests and formally putting an end to the island's slave trade. Sultan Khalid, on the other hand, was deported to East Africa after living in Zanzibar under German protection. His brief rule and swift demise served as a warning against resisting colonial powers. More broadly, the conflict served as an example of the colonial era's power structures. Small nations like Zanzibar sometimes found themselves at the mercy of superpowers throughout the world, their independence threatened by empires' aspirations. The war also demonstrated the speed at which hostilities could intensify. The future of the island was altered by a military conflict that started as a political struggle for succession. Why pay attention to a conflict that lasted barely 38 minutes, you ask? Because there are important lessons to be learned from even the most trivial historical events. More than just a strange historical occurrence, the Anglo-Zanzibar War offers insight into the character of imperialism and the extent to which colonial powers would go in order to keep control. The vulnerability of smaller countries under colonial control is further highlighted by this conflict. The tale of Zanzibar is similar to that of many other places where local leaders had to strike a delicate balance between preserving their independence and pacifying powerful nations. The conflict also highlights the glaring differences in military resources and technology at this time. The tremendous firepower of the British Army against Sultan Khalid's antiquated defenses demonstrates how colonial nations exploited their technological superiority to impose their will. In the end, the Anglo-Zanzibar War shows us that historical events, no matter how brief, can have a profound effect. It demonstrates the intricacy of politics, power, and resistance in an imperialist society. That concludes the shortest war in history. History was formed, and Zanzibar's fate was sealed in just 38 minutes. Despite its short duration, the war illuminates the wider challenges of the colonial period and the long-lasting effects of imperial aspirations. For more amazing historical tales, remember to like this video and subscribe to USA Vibes if you thought this story was fascinating. We are here to investigate the tales that formed our globe, from obscure wars to significant historical occurrences. What is the most unexpected historical fact you have ever heard? Share your thoughts in the comments section. It would be wonderful to include it in a future video. That being said, I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you again soon.